You can be inordinately influenced by television, radio, newspaper, the internet, conversations, work experiences, feedback from superiors, interactions with members of your family, even problems in traffic, or changes of temperature on the outside. The great majority of people allow much of their lives to be determined by what is going on around them, convincing themselves that they are thinking independently when instead they are merely reacting to whatever happens. Control your emotions. This is why the negative emotions that upset and disturb you are usually unconscious, unthinking reactions that are triggered by external events. We know this is true because no one would consciously and deliberately decide to feel negative, angry, or upset. When people are in control of their emotions, they choose to feel happy. For example, one of the most common expressions of negative emotions has to do with what are called conditioned responses. These are automatic responses that we engage in when somebody pushes one of our hot buttons. A hot button is a habitual negative way of reacting to an experience or to something that someone says. Each person has a series of these buttons, and when we know a person well, especially in an intimate relationship, we know just what buttons to push to get whatever reactions we want when one of your buttons is pushed, such as when someone mentions someone or something that you feel very strongly about. You respond with anger and defensiveness. If you hate to get cut off in traffic and somebody cuts you off inadvertently, your hot button will be triggered and you'll be talking angrily to yourself and to anyone else who will listen. For the foreseeable future, think before you react. One of the ways to take control over your mind is to identify the various external factors that cause you to become angry or upset in advance. Make a list of everything that happens where you have a tendency to respond negatively, then consciously make the decision that in the future, when one of these issues comes up, you will instead respond calmly and positively and not allow yourself to become upset and angry. Each time something happens, it would normally trigger a negative response from you. Consciously decide not to respond or to react in any way. Smile, take a deep breath and remain calm. The more you practice this, the easier it will become. You'll become more positive and optimistic. Your self-confidence will go up and you will feel more in charge of your own life. You will begin to free yourself from being a slave to external suggestions that control your mental state. The power of self-suggestion. The second form of suggestion is called self-suggestion. Self-suggestion is when you put both hands on the controls of your own mental life, or step up to the keyboard of your own mental computer and consciously program your subconscious mind with the thoughts and feelings that you desire. Self-suggestion is your key to building the kind of belief system deep within yourself that leads to unshakable self-confidence. And the reason that self-suggestion works so well is because of the law of substitution. The law of substitution says that your conscious mind can only hold one thought at a time, positive or negative. If you consciously choose to hold a positive word or picture in your mind, you simultaneously block out the various inputs from external sources that might cause your thinking and feeling to be negative or inconsistent with your true desires. For example, if whenever you begin to feel tense or uneasy or angry about something, you instead switch your mind and start thinking about your goals, your mind will switch from negative to positive instantly, and you will feel good about yourself again. The thought of a goal which is positive and future-oriented is inherently uplifting. You cannot think about your goal and be upset or angry at the same time. By using the law of substitution, you take full control over your suggestive environment and over the information that reaches your subconscious mind. Make self-control into a game. When something negative or unexpected happens to you, immediately seize upon the moment as an opportunity to demonstrate calmness and self-control. Make it a game instead of allowing yourself to feel negative deliberately. Force yourself to substitute something positive. Here's an affirmation that's been very helpful to me. I repeat it over and over until it becomes automatic. In almost every situation when something goes wrong, I immediately catch myself by saying every situation is a positive situation if viewed as an opportunity for growth and self-mastery. Whatever it is, I take a deep breath, relax, smile, and say every situation is a positive situation if viewed as an opportunity for growth and self-mastery. I then look within the situation for something that I can learn that will help me to grow and develop greater self-mastery. This is a simple mind game that enables me to stay relaxed and in control of my emotions, and it will work for you as well. Just give it a try. The power of auto-suggestion. Auto-suggestion takes place when you have repeated messages to your subconscious mind so often that they take on a power of their own. They function automatically. We have found continually that happy, optimistic people have programmed themselves to respond in a happy and optimistic way to almost every situation, and you can do the same thing. All of life bound up and determined by your responses. It's not what happens to you but how you react to What happens to you that counts, it's not the cards that you are dealt, but the way you play the cards that determine how well you do in the game of life. Your job is to consciously decide to use your willpower to keep your mind clear and to keep yourself positive and functioning at your best. A quick review. Take charge of your life. The starting point of taking full control over your conscious and your subconscious mind is for you to accept complete responsibility for everything that you think or say or do. You are responsible for whatever happens to you, and especially you are responsible for your responses to the inevitable ups and downs of daily life. As Eleanor Roosevelt said, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. I used to think that setting goals and making plans was the starting point of success in life. After a while I changed my mind because I realized that something else actually comes first. What comes first is the acceptance of complete responsibility for yourself and for everything that happens to you. Real maturity begins when you finally realize that no one is coming to the rescue. It is only when you accept total responsibility for your life situation with no excuses and no blaming of others that you move into a mental position to kick the long ball in your own life. It's only when you have accepted 100 responsibility for yourself that you are ready to take the next step and decide exactly what it is you want and exactly what it is you want to do. Accepting responsibility is not an option that is open to the individual. It is mandatory. It is an absolute fact of human existence. You do not have the luxury of blaming others or making excuses for parts of your life that are not satisfactory. As Henry Ford too said, never complain, never explain. No one makes you do anything or feel anything. You are where you are and what you are because you have decided to be there. Everything that you are or ever will be is entirely really up to you. If there's any effect in your life that you're not happy about, it is solely up to you to change the causes. You are completely responsible. Actions have consequences. Fully mature people accept that their actions have consequences. A fully functioning adult knows that he or she can choose an action, but that once the action is taken, both predictable and unpredictable consequences will follow. The true adult accepts that for every cause there will be an effect. For every action there will be a reaction. You can choose the action before you act, but you cannot choose or control the consequences or reaction afterwards. Intelligent adults are very careful about the thoughts they think and the actions that they take. They do not fool themselves or engage in self-delusion. They don't pretend that things might happen differently, nor do they trust to. Luck the inactions also have consequences, what are called crimes of omission are often more serious to your long-term prospects than the mistakes you make omitting to think through your values, set clear goals, make plans, commit to excellence, and so on, can be disastrous to your possibilities of great success. Problems versus facts. The starting point of success is the acceptance of reality. What cannot be cured must be endured. Often people will come to me with challenges they are facing, and I will ask them this simple question: is this a problem, or is this a fact? If it's a problem, it's amenable to a solution. There is something that you can do to change it. If you're not happy with the situation, it is up to you to go and do whatever you can to resolve it. A fact, however, is different from a problem. A fact is something that exists, like the weather, like rain or snow. There is nothing that you can do about it. You can solve problems, but the reality principle says that you have to learn to live with facts. Something unfortunate that has happened is a fact. A sale that did not go through, a business deal that collapsed, a relationship that didn't work out. All of these are facts. Many people waste an enormous amount of emotional energy struggling with facts, when they would be much better off concentrating on doing better in the future. Accepting responsibility is the beginning. Your goal is to be happy, confident, and optimistic. The way that you achieve this is by making these positive responses so automatic that you remained predominantly happy, confident, and optimistic no matter what happens. You can achieve this result by taking specific, proven, practical steps that have been used by millions of people and which work with virtually unfailing certainty. The starting point is accepting complete responsibility for every aspect of your life. Control your thoughts. You demonstrate this attitude of responsibility by exerting your freedom to choose the thoughts you wish to hold in your conscious mind. You choose to think positive, constructive thoughts rather than negative, destructive thoughts. Psychologists refer to this as the cognitive control method. Cognitive control simply means that you control your thoughts, keeping them positive and repeating positive messages to yourself over and over until they become automatic responses to daily life. Positive self-talk. The first mental fitness technique is that of positive self-talk, or the use of positive affirmations. The way you talk to yourself has an inordinate impact on your thinking and feeling. Many researchers, including Dr. Martin Seligman of the University of Pennsylvania, have discovered that high-performing men and women talk to themselves differently from low-performing men and women. Basically, your self-talk or your inner dialogue determines the tone of your emotional life. You're happy or sad, positive or negative, depending upon what you say to yourself and how you interpret the events to yourself as you go along. For example, if you're cut off in traffic and you immediately become angry, begin thinking about how stupid and irresponsible and what a bad driver the other person is, you will trigger a very different reaction than if, when you are caught off in traffic, you excuse the other person by thinking to yourself that he or she must be late or distracted or must not have seen you. It may be exactly the same external event, but the way you interpret it and your ensuing conversation with yourself will determine whether or not you experience positive or negative emotions about the situation. Your interpretive style. The starting point of using positive self-talk is to interpret everything that happens to you in a favorable way. Become what wealthy W. Clement Stone called an inverse paranoid. Imagine that the whole world is in a giant conspiracy to help you to be successful and happy. Imagine that everything that happens is happening to teach you something valuable and to move you closer to achieving your most important goals. Just as a paranoid is convinced that there is a conspiracy against him, an inverse paranoid is convinced that if there is a conspiracy for him or for her. Practice the wonderful mental quality of serendipity.